Hello.
Hi, Bob. Hi, Lala. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for all this jumbled up and coming on tonight.
My pleasure. I try to be flexible. I love doing shows. The last time that I was on, you both had amazing questions, not just about ufology and full disclosure and exopolitics in general, but really relating to both your own individual and now together life experiences as ET contactees, perhaps my labs experiencers. And so I'm glad to be back.
Well,
Hi, Tim.
we're glad to have you.
Hey,
Looking
Gerald.
for your third appearance, and so tonight, everyone, this is Brian Tseng back for his third appearance. He is doing all sorts of interesting things, but kind of the things that first brought us to him were his interests in Montauk, SSP, and other things. He's got his own project he's going to talk about. So, look, why don't you open up, tell about your current projects, and then go where you want to go, and then we'll just interact.
Great. Well, right now, most people who know me already, of course, know about the 2025 Full Disclosure Now conference coming up this July with our sister event, Day of Being 5.0. It's a free beach weekend that's going to be the Saturday and Sunday, ending our Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of amazing goodness on the two stages at the Serrata Beach Resort, with a third room or area where we'll be having workshops and special presentations.
Cool.
Um, in addition to that, I've been being on shows recently with Rocco Fowler because not only is he a Montauk boy, Montauk survivor, and multiple people remember him from that project, and vice versa. He remembers some of them as well. Um, but
Well,
he
God bless them.
also,
I'm going to tell you, God bless them, because I can't even imagine. None of us can.
oh, well, yeah, well, maybe more of us may have been Montauk Project people than you may think, especially if you've been abducted at any point for starseed or ET, genetics, lineage abilities. Exactly. And then,
She remembers some abductions like that.
yeah, exactly. And but not only that, for Rocco, he's grew up in the Long Island, New York area, in the Hamptons area, where P. Diddy had one of his notorious mansions with the white parties in the East Hamptons.
Oh,
And he, for a series of summers, over the course of summers, was getting shanghaied to some of these parties and witnessed and had to experience and remember some of this stuff. And a lot of it was, you have to understand, before the P. Diddy parties and stuff, he went through the foster system. And then in addition to that was part of the Montauk Project. So he got it. That's like three different ways of being, in an exploitive, abusive situation.
Horrible.
And he just shared a YouTube show with me, where someone was reporting that Diddy's son, or one of them, got arrested for trying to uh, steal or sneak out the rest of the baby oil that P. Diddy had in one of his mansions, maybe, and he's been trying to sell it. And the deal is, apparently, Rocco's telling me this right now over Messenger, that, yeah, the authorities don't seem to know that apparently the deal with the P. Diddy baby oil is that it's got GHB in it.
oh,
And GHB, gamma hydroxybutyrate, or butyrol, I forget, butyrate, gamma hydroxybutyrate. It can be absorbed through the skin, and it's a date rape type drug. And it can render you dissociated and paralyzed and out of your senses so that you can be taken advantage of. And so this was one of the things that P. Diddy would do, would smear people with this baby oil. And it's not like he just liked baby oil. This is P. Diddy branded special Johnson and Johnson, baby oil.
Motherfucker, I tell you what.
yeah, he's a
Yeah.
piece of shit. I hope he rots in prison and has a bad time. Sorry if you
He,
get
he's in for a rough one karmically. Yeah, whatever. Even if it was all soul contracted, karmically, it's not pretty.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah. And thank you for being here, everybody. On a lighter note.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, so we've got 100 watching, and it'll grow.
Wow. That's awesome. Hey, thank you.
No, we're happy to do
I'm
it.
posting it online everywhere now.
Yeah, she's reminding everybody, especially since we changed the nights. We just continue to tell us what you want to tell us, and I am sure we'll have 1,000 questions. And tonight we should entertain audience questions, which
Yes.
we haven't done enough of.
Please, anyone has questions in the audience, I love questions, and then if you have information on any of the content to chime in on, please. And, we love to call that out. And then leaving comments later on in the comment section for the show helps to stroke the YouTube algorithms and all that, especially, and probably Rumble. And then I am in the future I also already have an amazing team and a lot of amazing content creators. I'd like you two to be included. We're launching our own platform, and we're going to be incorporating a lot of bells and whistles and ecosystem and stuff, and really to help, further galvanize the full disclosure movement, and also, get everybody the platforms and audience and recognition that we should have, because, the White House now, they're starting to announce through Anna Paulina Luna, I believe her name is.
Yes.
The fact that there are UAPs and UHIs and non-human intelligences. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, sorry.
And let me close all this.
You're about to yell at me.
Yeah, no. I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. It sounded like it was coming from you. Sorry.
That's me. I'm just getting messenger calls.
Alapana Luna did something more than that today. She put up an X post, tweet, whatever you want to call it. And the first words of part A was POTUS declassified.
Yep.
Period. Now, look, I want everybody to understand what that means. Because I spent 30-something years inside the life. I know what that means. That means if he told me that things I did were declassified, I could go down to the local television station and the local newspaper and the street and scream about it as loud as I want, because it's no longer under control and they no longer forced to hide. He just, if she talked to him, she and others talked him into doing this, the floodgates are about to open, with or without his help. Because if he has done this, people will bleed out of these things onto every kind of vehicle they can to tell the truth about what's happened. I hope he did this.
Well, Bob, I wouldn't be surprised at all, because what I heard is that during his 2016 term, he wanted to announce the presence of positive ETs and the Galactic Federation types. And my understanding is that they themselves told him no, it wasn't ready at that time. But now, after the theft of the 2020 election, of which, he's been commander in chief this whole time. That's why he didn't put his hand on the Bible to swear in at the inauguration on January 20th, because he's been in charge his whole time from that role as POTUS and CIC.
Yeah. So the things that matter to me right this minute are that he does the right thing where all this is concerned. So look, the lying the people in government have done to the American people and the world are the reason. They're the reasons people do not trust the government. If we start clawing these lies back and telling the truth from government out, we have a chance to have a government that somebody listens to.
Yeah. Cheers to that. So I drink my blueberry lemonade. Yes, absolutely. He's doing this this administration is doing more to clean out the Aegean stables than any administration has done since JFK last tried to do it and got multiple bullets for it. Which is why it's no surprise that the JFK files, RFK, and MLK Jr. files have already been released. And I've been kind of waiting for them to announced that JFK Jr. and Caroline Bessette Kennedy are still alive.
I don't know whether I believe that or not, but it wouldn't be shocking. So I sent Anna Paula Lunar and her people details on things that were almost done correctly before and how to do them correctly now with modern technology, and look taking all of the evidence and ironclad proof, locate where each and every shot fired came from.
They already know. They already
you can
know.
do that from the sound, but I want her to know how to do it. I'm willing to testify
the acoustics,
on how to do it.
Okay, because they already the Dark Legacy on YouTube. There's a redacted version. It's not JFK assassination, and then there's the longer version. The redacted version, they removed all the information about the Bush family, and Dulles and Atchison, and the Freemason Skull and Bones, and the CIA coming over, converting it from the Office of Strategic Services under the Wild Bill Donovan World War II days.
That, and I don't think they trusted it to one entity. I think they put out
the mafia,
with the mafia and all
the Cubans. Yeah, for sure.
They brought
was it Sam Bonanzo, or I forget his name? Bonanno, yeah. Him and who else? And then of course through Johnson and that whole crew, and then Dulles and Atchison and Bush, and then probably Israeli intelligence and the Mossad, the royal family at that point.
Could be. Look, I just want the floodgates to open. Let's clean it out and start over.
Yeah, that's the only way to do it. You can't. Who wants to build a house or renovate a house when you still have moldy floorboards and leaky pipes behind the walls? You got to tear that stuff out and do it right. And that's really, part of that is a lot of people, and I believe it, say that we have not had a proper constitutional republic for many years, going all the way back to probably the War of 1812. When like the British sailed up the Potomac, we may have been under British maritime law. I'm not sure if I'm getting that date right, but British maritime law is my understanding, and that's why they talk about the U.S. flag with the gold fringes. That actually is a bad thing. You don't want gold fringed flags.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, so the country did not fall during the War of 1812. They burned the capital, but the country did not surrender. So we were still operating because the president and vice president left the area and were under protection. They burned down the Library of Congress and other things.
And Bob, I'm not sure exactly when. I know that there's some hidden history there. At some point, we apparently were put under maritime law. I'm not sure if it was then, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was 1812. But I understand what you're saying about the main executive leadership vacating Washington so they didn't get rounded up by the Brits. But somewhere along there, I don't know how or when, and that's an area where I need to do more research. I know Mary Beaver in our community, Adana Soul, is an expert at this, among other people. The whole straw man thing with the social security numbers and the TIN and all that theory, Tin Man theory. Yeah. But did you have any questions as follow up from last time? I loved hearing like your own experiences and helping to provide context.
No, you're the one with the experiences he is talking about, and it needs airing. It needs solutions.
I have a question. Hi, I keep forgetting to put this freaking thing. Okay, hi. People that go through Montauk and all that, does something happen to them where either something will happen in their life to divert them, or they don't feel good, or does something happen so that they don't pay attention to this?
Yeah, so there's a lot of that falls into the category of targeted individuals. And then
Mhm.
at its most extreme, you've got the Adjustment Bureau type activities with time travel. So it's not just targeting you in real time, but they might mess with you using the time travel programs, to the point that Arkim Ra, he's talked about these as they're called bubble swaps. It's where, let's say you're in part of a project in this timeline, and then they have you do something really messed up that like really affects this timeline to a huge extent. They might take the you in this timeline that did it with your alters and then swap you with another you in another timeline over, and swap that la into this timeline. And you're
Mhm.
both going to sound crazy when people are like, wait a second, this isn't right. Like, Bob, you're not my husband. Or like, you don't have a beard. Like, wait, what's going on? And you're going to be all freaked out. And Bob might notice,
She
but
experiences Mandela effects all
yes.
the time.
And that's the quantum Mandela effects and all that. Exactly. And so it's possible that it's that. There's a whole lot of things. I mean, eventually, apparently, we live in a very heavily edited timeline. Okay. And a lot of that was being resolved around 2012 to now, with like, and it's like, the Mayan calendar kind of speaks to this. Edgar Casey, Dolores Cannon, all these people, the Bible even. So all of this is like lining up to the age of Aquarius, a higher timeline, the Earth splits. And if you're part of the programs, especially, it wouldn't be a surprise if you're dealing with quantum effects. Because let's say you're doing time travel missions, or just in this timeline, big missions and things like that. And you're part of these projects, and you've been part of 20 and back, so I'm sure, and you've got alters. That's got to be disorienting at best. Hey, Wes Decker, thank you.
Yeah, we're excited too, Wes. We're glad to have Brian on because he is full of information and an excellent uh, person to have a conversation with. So look, she's a little shy, so let me poke. She has had my labs. She remembers the guy with the clipboard and the non-human intelligences and the guy with the clipboard standing on the wall watching everything going on. So just share with us from top level or wherever you want to go, or interact with her about my labs, because we have
So,
not discussed it.
so there's a guy with a clipboard who's human on the one hand, and then there's like ETs, or clearly not human, walking around. To me, it sounds like you were probably grabbed up somehow in the physical, and then probably aboard a craft or portaled, like they came through the wall and levitated you up and through the wall and
Oh,
brought you
she knows
probably,
about that. She knows about that.
probably to an underground base or
Portal
facility is
opened
what I
on
would think.
the fucking wall, for real. It really did. It was a light that was tiny. It got really long, and this guy came out of it, shadow guy. And so, anyway, good.
They had masked the appearance, so she couldn't later identify it.
And then I passed out after.
Yeah, and then they did the little knock her out and took her and did what they wanted to do with her.
Yeah, apparently they do have a neuralizer type thing as shown in the Men in Black movies. Yes.
It is amazing to me, all of the stuff leaking out, Brian, and all of my favorite science fiction movies look like a leak.
They are. Most of them, many of them are. From Kubrick to James Cameron. I'm going to announce this on Sean Bond, a Psionic League. Sean Bond, shout out. I was on video chat with him earlier today. He was showing me some of the artifacts that he and Isha Arzlieb helped to dig up in the Huehuelas area, I believe, of Mexico. They were invited there by locals, and they're helping to curate these artifacts. One of the artifacts, it's like a UFO kind of like dome with like hieroglyphic type etchings into it depicting different scenery and ET beings. And I got like an Aliens, like the movie, the James Cameron series vibe off of it. and he opened it up because a lot of these have like they're in pieces and that fit together. Like there might be like a UFO thing where you open it up, we'll have like a little ET that's like the pilot of it who might have like a ray gun, you know, for example. That's rare, the ray guns, but they are out there. He picked it up. It showed me it was like the mini xenomorph symbol, like the aliens symbol of like the xenomorph, like kind of like in like a circle, like an Ouroboros circle, but like a xenomorph from the Alien series inside of that thing. And these are artifacts that, in general, people like Mike Forrest and others. I know Gustavo Madrano, Josh Sizzler, Anthony Mickle, people who've done the research in it had this stuff carbon dated. They're finding it's anywhere from like a lot of it's like generally the range of like 5,000 to 18,000 years old. And the older the artifacts are, the more intricate, ornate, more stronger in like ET theme in terms of power. A lot of them are larger, unless they're like wearables and stuff. It's pretty wild.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You got questions. Get them answered.
I wanted to talk or ask you about going back to the gang stalking. And what's that? Is it called Morgellons? It's this little thing that
Morgellons disease. Yeah. So those are nanotech fibers that a lot of that is like ET human technology that comes out of Fort Detrick, Maryland, from Dr. William Bergdorfer, Willie Bergdorfer. He's the one that the spirochete Bergdorferi, I believe is the name, is based off of. It's a really nasty spirochete, smaller organism that he decided to put into Texas longhorn ticks to weaponize them, along with Lyme disease. So that's why you get a lot of coincidence of Lyme disease and Morgellons threads and nanotech structures. And there's ways to detox protocols of that. Popular way is to like drink a little bit of like high quality borax in your water. None of this is medical advice, by the way. I'm not a doctor. I only play one on YouTube. This is for entertainment purposes only. Go do your own research, consult your professionals, and
do not
please
snort the borax thing.
Don't snort the borax. No, put it in a little bit of water.
With other things.
Yeah. And you drink it and then put it in your bath water, and it's nice and hot, as bath as you can tolerate, along with bath salts that, again, you don't snort or smoke. They're meant for your bath people. And also alfalfa, because alfalfa has high amounts of chlorophyll. Apparently the nanotech in the Morgellons is attracted to the chlorophyll because it's very similar to the hemoglobin in the human blood. Wow. And so a lot of this stuff is supposed to swim out of your body into this alfalfa borax salt bath. And as it does so, if you shine like a UV blacklight, some people have reported you can see like the swimmers that swim out of you and your skin that making you itchy and stuff, which is a good thing. It's outside of you, obviously, and flushed down and neutralized into the alfalfa and borax.
Right. I love this kind of stuff. I was just looking. Have you ever heard of, it might not be real, but I looked up something called draconian parasites. And these people were, when they would use the bath, they would do a detox. And when they would use the bathroom, these weird parasites would come out of them. And I mean, they showed proof. It was crazy.
Well, there's all sorts of parasites in lots of people. And in Western, modern culture, we don't emphasize parasite cleanses, much less metal cleanses and detoxes. And, things like, if you're going to do a parasite cleanse, how do you use binders so that when you kill the parasites and they lyse and rupture and they poop out all the nasty toxins, you want to have like binders and stuff to like kitty litter pick up that crap so it doesn't just go directly in your bloodstream in your system and you have a Herxheimer reaction and get all like nasty, toxic kind of high fever. And it's like, well, why? It's like, I'm trying to detox and I feel sicker than ever. Well, it's because you're purging toxins like parasites all at once, and they just pooped in your system all at once. And there's reasons.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think it's interesting. I think, And like the Lyme, I didn't know that about the Lyme disease at all. That they put that in there. It's horrible. I have Lyme disease, so
Chronic. She has chronic Lyme disease.
So there's things you can do about that. The spirochete makes it tough because apparently that's why a lot of people, they do these parasite cleanses. I mean, the traditional Western medicine is to nuke you with like antibiotics
Yes.
to the point where you're so saturated that the spirochetes, which lodge deep into your cells and come out periodically and then hibernate periodically. So that makes it, you got to saturate, because even though if you wipe them out with one round, you can still have a lot of the critters still hiding in you. So that's why they have to saturate you. Now, if you're doing this naturally and you're doing these other cleanses and the metal detoxes and other methodologies, you know, like look up like the biosanctuary.com and the energetic like health institute. You know, consult those professionals and people on the front lines who know what they're doing. People are doing like the EBU whole blood filtration cleanses. Like I like, you know, and I believe that the two groups I just named now, I believe they both probably do those. Yeah, but there's lots of things that you can do to maybe, and also more naturally, like with artemisinin, which is like the natural component or ingredient, active component of ivermectin, stuff like that.
Really?
Thank you, writing the frequency. Yeah, do stuff like that. You know, there's so many things that we can do to help cleanse ourselves before we get the med beds, which I'm told are on the way. That it's military. The military is like producing them, and apparently there's 3 levels of med beds that we'll eventually have access to. And Amari is sweet, was sharing a lot of this info with me, and she has a lot of very strong remote viewing, clairvoyant viewing capability, literally military grade secret space program level. And so I highly recommend her for consults. She's amazing.
Yeah.
She also known as Rogue Dragon. That's
She's
her
coming
consult.
on our show.
Yeah, Rogue Dragon's coming up. So the other thing is we're interested in anything you've heard or care to share with us and our audience about the good ETs trying to wake us up and save us from the bad ETs. That's like everywhere.
So because the Earth has been under the ownership of the Draco Reptilian Empire, which is now defunct, but the Draco Reptilians, good and bad and ugly, are still out there, especially in this sector of their former empire, which is now splintered, but they're still around. The Earth has been in a really sad state, especially humanity. Combined with the Jahami or Anunnaki, who also came here, who basically, I guess I kind of put it, lease agreemented us from underneath the Draco Reptilians and their empire to exploit us to mine gold.
So yeah, I mean, gold is the most stable element in our entire chemical array.
It's our energy, isn't it?
And not only that, part of that is if you look at the electron structure, the orbital structure, outside its valence structure, it's the Merkaba, where it's like the pyramids of one up and one down intersecting in like a star formation. And so that, you know, it makes sense that a very pure physical and metaphysical spiritual form would be manifested as the electron structure of gold. Okay. And, you know, gold is, it doesn't rust, it doesn't tarnish, right? It's non-reactive pretty much.
And it never, it's essentially immortal. It never decays into anything else.
It stays pure. Yes. So it's a higher vibrating material. It's God's money, along with silver, as Robert Kiyosaki of Rich Dad, Poor Dad says. And so the positive ETs, they faced a huge dilemma. How do you alter the course of humanity and Earth when technically the Dracos have had ownership and humanity is on a Draco-owned planet and being further exploited by the Jahami Anunnaki with the blessing of the Draco? Well, the way you do it is you put skin in the game. That's the Starseed Incarnation program, where it's like, okay, we're Lyran lion people, the Irma, or Lyran tiger people known as the Katai, such as Christy May uh, Wixon is a starseed of their lineage, among others. And her people incarnated here upon the earth. Now, the Katai have karmic skin in the game to enable them to operate, at least through Christie, without now violating the prime directive. Okay. And then enough star races put enough of their beloved people, their friends and family, probably all of us, anyone listening to this show, um, into to incarnate here, because reincarnation is a thing. And among most of the galaxy, other than soul trap prison type situations such as Earth, for now, which we're being freed of, that stuff is being dismantled. We, in between death and life, we're incarnation in a 3D physical in this dimension. We remember. We don't get mind memory wiped of our previous incarnations in a lot of cases, apparently. And so that really is a huge game changer for so many reasons. But to have us incarnate here en masse, especially in the here and now, that's why now is partly why now is such a great time of awakening, is each and every one of us star seeds, whether or not we're actively on a podcast or writing a book or doing meditation sessions and classes or whatever, or artwork, or we're anchoring in the light. We're anchoring in higher vibration and a higher timeline, and then we get to be instruments and vessels to transmit this higher, more wisdom laden knowledge, hopefully from our more positive galactic ET friends and family.
Yep. I'm ready to be awakened. I'm ready for whatever's suppressing our natural abilities, our natural psi abilities, and keeping us from remembering. I'm ready for it to end.
Yeah. Well, every step we take to advance full disclosure, total exposure, whatever you want to call it, hastens that day. And because the positive galactics, they're, I know a lot of people they're angry at it, they don't like it and all that. They really don't want to violate free will, and they don't want to tip the scales in a negative way that puts humanity on a distorted direction, because they revealed themselves too early in the wrong way, and we got the wrong idea down here on Earth, and we go in a certain direction, we deviate from a path, and they've been waiting thousands of years for this. To us in a human lifetime, years, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, that's a long time. You've been waiting thousands of years. Okay. Do you want to screw the whole game up, if you will, and cheat or tip the scale in the wrong way, in the wrong direction at the very, what you're perceiving as the very end of the game? I mean, if you're in the scale of thousands of years, then this is like seconds ticking off right now. And that's where we're at, even though to us humans, it's linear years.
It's kind of painful. So the thing that bothers me is the painful looking out and seeing how people's minds are just covered up with garbage in every direction. I have a question. So let's change the direction just a little bit. What can you tell us about the extremely large city at the bottom of the Indian Ocean off the west coast of Australia?
I don't know anything about that one in particular, but that would probably be more in the region of where Mu or Lemuria was, whereas Appalachia, which a lot of people call Atlantis, but that was apparently like a main citadel city. It was apparently called Appalachia, was the main continent spanning the Atlantic, where the Atlantic Ocean is now, and
Mhm.
Lemuria would have been under more that Pacific Ocean area. More north of that, in the Devil's Triangle area, apparently there's a lot of nastiness that still needs to be cleaned up there, that wants to come through, and that was some of what was nasty surprises in store for humanity and the Earth if we were to be on the negative timeline. And
God.
thankfully we're not on that timeline. The light has won in this timeline, and even though it's already won in the higher realms, it takes time to manifest down here in the lower realms.
Right. So, I mean, look, when we were visited, we were told clearly, help soft disclosure, tell people we're coming, and we will interact with humanity in the future to do all sorts of good things. That was a very positive message. And we were required to decide between the two of us in total free will, say yes or say no, and it was up to us. And we looked at each other and talked about it and said yes. I mean, that thing visited us right in our backyard, walked right up on us. And so we said yes.
And that's a great, excellent choice, I believe. You know, the Farsight Institute is also visited by them in person on a secluded beach that they go to very late at night with Dr. Courtney Brown and his team, including my good friend Yemi Janae as well. There's Aziz Brown, Kamea Dunstan, and I forget some of the other people.
Well, I listen to all sorts of people, but I listen to the monthly board meetings every month.
Yep, exactly. And they appear now in person, I believe, at their monthly board meetings at the Farsight Institute headquarters in the Atlanta, Georgia area.
Yep.
Yeah. And then also Christopher Jacobs and Joanna Michaels of the lifting.net. They're in contact with many positive galactic ET beings, such as Valiant Thor, who is stranger at the Pentagon, and his second in command, Indrid Cold from Lanalos. Okay. Whereas I believe Valiant Thor came through Venus, because there's like in the fourth or higher density inner Earth or underneath the surface, there's a populated Venus apparently. But he might be like a Palladian or Lyran before that. And then Audrey Walters is in contact telepathically, as well as other people, and many in our community. I'm just naming some who are more public and out there who I work more publicly with.
Well, anyone you want to name, look, people can come look up the transcript for this and just read off. So any you want to name, I encourage people to go look at this stuff and decide for yourself. But go look.
And do consults with them for yourself if you want to have one-on-ones with them. Don't waste their time, obviously, and don't troll them, but try to make the most of it and get the most of their wisdom, and knowledge and of the beings that they're in communication with, to share with your life. And, hopefully it resonates. Take what resonates. And I find that the vast majority of what I'm encountering does resonate. And the stuff that doesn't, it washes out in the end, and we figure out, okay, what was the snag.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we have 200 and something people looking. Get a good question.
No, don't. Something just popped in my mind. So when we are freed and we don't have to come back here or whatever situation, where do we go? What happens? What do we become?
So where we go is individualized to our vibration and frequency and where we should go next. So a lot of the unrepentant negative folks who have done the rituals and the blood products and all that and crimes against humanity, especially little people, a lot of them are going to end up in prison type planets and incarnations, is what I understand, so that they can learn the lessons of how service to self really there are scenarios where Earth is like a playground, okay, in a prison. Think of it like that. And this compared to what other incarnations can be like. If anyone's ever seen the movie Pitch Black with Vin Diesel, I'm told that that's literally what one of the prison planets looks like.
Wow.
Because in the best of times, it's a really nasty desert planet with multiple suns. It's super harsh. And so you're getting burned and, it's just rough. But every like so many years, there's like certain like eclipses line up where the suns are blacked out and it literally gets pitch dark. And all this nasty monster wildlife that lives underneath the surface comes to the surface. And it's so bad that if you don't practice service to other or cooperation, at least cooperating in if I'm going to survive, I have to cooperate. So to that extent, then forget about it. And now for the positive beings, I think a lot of people who maybe they've taken the jibbies and they're still waking up, and a lot of this is a shock to them, and as they wake up, and a lot of people are apparently soul contracted. And I'm not being judgmental here. I mean, shoot, I could have been soul contracted in another timeline, right, to be wake up and be asleep until now, as we call it. But apparently there's like a mass awakening that many people are going to awaken at the same time. And those people, it's like no matter how much we are trying to shake them awake, at a certain point we're interfering with their karma.
Right.
And that's not good for our own karma, trying to force someone awake who just absolutely doesn't want to be awakened. But if they do awaken, right, and all that, I put those people, I think a lot of them are going to get to reincarnate here in a new Earth, okay, in a higher golden age Earth, and kind of learn a lot of the lessons and see how we had the wool pulled out over our eyes for so long. Then I suspect and like to think a lot of us who've done a lot of hard work, our time, money, reputation, lives, energy, it's on the line to whatever extent. If we accord ourselves well, maybe we're in for a bit of a vacation type incarnation after this one, to kind of chill out and dip our feet into the waters and chill.
Check out, please.
She definitely deserves it.
I need a fucking vacation.
Yep. Penny Bradley, put her up there too. Yep.
Yes. That would be nice.
Would be nice.
One more question, then I'll throw it back at him. This might sound stupid, but you know how people don't really know what exactly demons are or interdimensional? Do you think some hauntings are just other species coming around and messing with us? Or different timelines blending in?
Yeah, so there's all sorts of stuff. So you could have timelines and terrible events, especially traumatic, high loosh type events. That's like the stone tape theory, where it's like kind of like written in time and it's kind of etched in time. And so there's that energy there. It could be bleeding over. It could be such a huge or traumatic event. It could be bleeding over from another timeline, even if it might not have happened in this one. You've got demonic beings. You've got beings that could be mistaken for demons that aren't necessarily straight up demons. Like jinn might be lower energy beings, but they're not necessarily like. But I'm not sure about them. Olivia James would be of Grey Mouse. She'd be the one to ask for that. Then you've got the poltergeist beings who might be spirits who they're in between and they're messing with us, kind of like depicted in the movie Ghost with what's his name, Patrick Swayze. Then you've got people who we ourselves might have like a poltergeist type energy coming off of us or linked to us, whether because it's a spirit attachment or like psychic trauma or just psychic activity, especially with like younger people, prepubescent, as they're about to hit puberty. You get that a lot of that's depicted in the poltergeist movies by Steven Spielberg, who
Yeah.
apparently he himself was named by Isaac Cappy along with Tom Hanks for being part of the Illuminati Hollywood P-file crowd. And Sarah Ruth Ashcroft alleges that she was sold by, I think it was her father, to be a sex slave at 16 years old to both Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks.
I believe it, honestly. I think everybody high up you can't be really nice and be very high up, in my opinion. You have to be kind of
For the
cool.
old system, New Earth is going to be the exact opposite. So
Right.
all of us they're raining on our parade, people like us who even 5 years ago could have been neutralized, and especially 10, 15, 20 years ago, back
Mhm.
to the post-World War II era, have been getting neutralized nicely by getting paid off, and not so nicely by being, shot 3 times in the back of the head and ruled a suicide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, I have one more question.
Keep going. Keep going. You're doing great.
So have you heard of any gossip that there's another, um, Montauk in a different area that's going on now, or do you think they're kind of still doing it to all of us through television and movies and all this other crap? You know what I mean? Just on a not so extreme level.
Okay, so I understand after one of the Montauk children, might have been Chris Letterer, might have been someone else, when strapped in the Montauk trip chair, summoned a monster or series of monsters that cleared
Yeah.
out the base of the bad guys for a period. I believe, and I think John Whitberg and maybe James Rink talk about this. They may have relocated the Montauk Project to underneath New Orleans and also the Presidio of San Francisco. Okay, the demilitarized base there. Beautiful piece of property, by the way, Presidio. And I love New Orleans. It's my favorite city to visit.
I love it.
Yeah, and I loved living in San Francisco for 20 years and being a medical organizer and advocate for 8 of those years.
Wow.
And so that they may have moved it there, and then the secret space programs are still in continuation. And then with time travel and all that, all bets are off. So I believe in different forms, especially if you're what's considered to be a valuable asset, because you have alters who have abilities that are very highly desired, like the ability to open portals, remote viewing to a high level. Arkeem talks about people who are known as anchor beings, people who have the ability to affect timelines more. Like apparently you could send 2 different people on the same mission to try to alter a timeline, like by going back 500 years. And one person, if they do it, it won't make much of effect, if any. But if more of one of these anchor type people does it, it'll definitely have more effect on that timeline going forward.
Wow.
So, what do you think will be the impact of the world learning that we had a secret space program that was visiting the moon and the other planets and elsewhere? Right about the same time we were lying to people and sending men to the moon.
So for the people who are already amenable to this information, us people who like, I want to believe, and now I'm past that stage of I already know, right? But a lot of the people are in the I want to believe phase. The people who want to believe and are now presented with the information of like, yep, we're going to confirm everything that you've already known deep down in your heart and your guts all along, and then they're going to love it. And then they're going to help us demand justice and reconciliation and repatriation and revelation of all the secret technologies like free energy and medical beds. All the people who are going to have a hard time with it, they're going to at first knuckle drag it, but and maybe protest a bit. But at the end of the day, like Jenny Lee of Jenny Lee's site, she's a good friend and she's a psychic and seer. She says they're just going to follow along. They won't have any other choice but to follow along. When the rest of us are lining up for med beds, at a certain point, they're going to say, wow, how do I sign up? Versus, aha, look at you, 70 years old, and you look like the equivalent of your 40. Wait a second. I want some of that. Like, I was throwing monkey shit at you. Never mind. Where do I sign up, Bob?
Yep.
I'm ready. I want to look 20 for 200 years. That would be nice.
Well, I feel 20 years younger than I am. So, but that's all right. I got a blessing from somebody who was in contact with something. So there you go. So, all right. So let's do, what should we do now? Where are you ready to go? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go?
We got any audience questions or comments? Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot is saying, I don't know how long Gaia will keep the cities underground, like where many giants live, probably waiting for humans to get off the war wagon. I can speak to that. So there's a whole multiple inner earth civilizations, whether they're like the Agarthans, the Telosians, the ant people, inner earth reptilians, many of whom are still, negative and parasitic and have to be dealt with, because they're kind of native to this planet, and also like portals and gateways that they have access to. Apparently in other higher timelines already, like one where Arkeem has an altar soul fragment by the name of Edward Hughes, who has a very distinct Australian accent, who's from a more higher timeline, positive Earth, about 4.5 years ahead of us, where we are now. And we suspect that Edward, who's about 72 years old in that timeline, may have died, at which point his consciousness, that alter soul fragment, can now reintegrate and come back to interact with Arkeem, in the base, here and now. And Edward says that in that timeline, it's already known that inner earth is a thing. There are already ambassadors, very few, between the humans and the ant people. The Chitway, I believe, is what they're known as. The Hopi and Anasazi tribes know of them, especially the Hopi, I think. Been rescued by them at times during huge, cataclysms here on Earth over thousands of years. Mm-hmm. And they will not, even in that higher timeline, Earth, even though they already have ambassadorial emissary relationships between inner Earth and us here on the surface, apparently they still do not allow any photography or videography of any kind at all to be leaked out, because they are so security conscious that whenever you let any imagery out, now it gives remote viewers imagery to focus on and quantum entangle with, to now open up portals to invade. And that's how security conscious they are.
Except most really good remote viewers, they're blind to their target. They don't have a clue what it looks like.
Correct.
Well, not the good ones.
Right. But then there may be ways to block even remote viewers. Like one way, Olivia James of Grey Mouse, among others, speaks to this. I believe Christopher Jacobs. If you're trying to remote view, like a Mars location, for example, they'll have remote viewers. Oh, geez. They'll have remote viewers tasked to basically bodyguard that facility. And they can sense you in the astral coming in to snoop. And then they can do things like try to beat you up in the astral, kind of like the dream fighting each other. When we were doing a session with Misha Johnston, Olivia James and I, to contact and remote view both the negative entities in leadership and the positive entities in leadership in regards to the full disclosure movement in this timeline. And at a certain point, she came under attack, where she said it was an agent, probably like a secret space program breakaway group, military contractor, probably on the Japanese side, known as Ronin. And she said this one Ronin operative, the vision she was getting was like him opening a hole up in her forehead and then reaching his hand into her head to try to squeeze her brain or whatever. Okay. And we were like, back up, like, Olivia, back out of there, get out of there. And she's like, yeah, cut that connection. And she said that one Ronin psychic operative was more powerful than like 5 operatives here on Earth that she dealt with, trying to snoop on some of the other programs to gather intelligence, for our side.
Wow.
Yep.
I believe it. I do.
Yeah, Dave Scott and I were
Dave Scott at Space Out Radio.
Yeah, we were interacting one evening while I was living in a temporary place, moving out of one house into another. And let's just say I was being observed. And Dave and I looked, and it was tough to see. So he brought in a well-trained person from the Marines, well-trained. And they said, okay, look now. And we looked, and we could make out the guy right outside my window under a tree. It looked almost like a person was there. But what we were seeing was their other body, their energy body. Since then, we've been looked at, the two of us have been looked at, and I have had the face of the person and the room of the person in my vision. I know who it is, and I know where they are because I've been there.
Are they part of the Princeton group, and are they operating out of Georgia?
They're not far from us in Maryland.
Oh, Maryland. Well, Maryland, that's Spookville, of course. And would I be surprised that you've got remote viewers who are on the other side targeting us and hassling us? Not at all. In fact, I've heard reports of that already from other people.
Yeah, I mean, well, look, Joe McMonagle used to work there. So.
Yep, Joe McMonagle, very skilled remote viewer. Talking about the Black Pyramid up in Alaska, which apparently is up and running. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Trump administration does reveal that thing's generating a lot of power right now and is being harnessed.
Well, I mean, is it blanking our psi abilities, et cetera, or is it doing something good?
It depends on probably who's operating it. And Ian McFadden was asking, did anyone see the hundreds of lights leaving one area? Scanner Guy 1968 has shorts, 10 minutes in feature length. Amazing. Leaving one area of where? Ian, if you could put that into the comments. And Donald Ledesma, our good friend of, he now has a whole documentary series and his own website, Sky Channel. Donald, if you could please put that in as well into the chat. He's asking, has anyone ever remote viewed at the same time and saw the exact same thing, such as location and entities? That's a great question, Donald. There are people who in our community who can work together to remote view at the same time to strengthen each other.
Teams view together.
Yes, exactly. Because some people in the team will be better at the audio stuff and audio, like listening and hearing the sound, and other people are better at getting the visuals. And so when they work together, it gives them the more, full motion picture of it all.
So in my case, in 2014, I had my last heart attack, and this time I actually found out it was a heart attack, and I had coronary bypass, and they kept me under for 8.5 hours doing the work. When I woke up, I no longer had mind sight. I no longer could make imagery in my head. So then I got trained to do remote viewing, and I sucked because I kept trying to visualize things. Now I'm listening to other signals, so I know I will be a person that does not do it that way, but I will hear, feel, taste. And so I need to energize my synesthesia. So I'm working on it.
Exactly. And who knows, as we go forward, maybe it'll become more unlocked and activated, and then you'll gain the third eye visual component more. The Skylight channel. There you go. Exactly. Okay, perfect. So Ian saying it was on YouTube. You can't say he had a top of the range camera for low light. Oh, well, I can tell you.
He and I have the same camera. Let me show it.
Okay. So I know Courtney Brown at the Farsight Institute, they were shown by somebody to use like this using an infrared camera, is it?
This is a Psionics Opsin. It has an extremely advanced sensor in it, and it has sensitivity down into near infrared. And this thing is, I go out back or out in the field when it's dark, and it's daylight all over. And it's really good for finding things in the sky. Psionics Opsin. This is the top of the line from Psionics right now. And I find it more convenient than the older ones where the special forces drop them down over their eyes and
The monocle.
monocular. Yeah.
Yeah, that's some tactical advantages though, so that's a hard one to give up. But yeah, I have a great monocular, but it's like it goes from the 2 into the 1 night vision from our good friend Michael Sedona. Michael Sedona of Sedona Tours. Yeah, Michael Sedona. Yeah.
Yes. We have a super friend in Sedona, is Melinda Leslie, and people should look into her too, because wow. Yeah. If you want to go see some weird stuff, go visit her.
So the difference between a medium and a remote viewer, Donald, a lot of times people who are like psychics and mediums have remote viewer capability. The medium part is the ability to communicate with different entities, especially to the point where they can enter into you and you can trans-channel them. The psychic part is more when people are like clairvoyant and they can see the future, or like their third eye is open, and that gets into mediumship too, I believe. Remote viewing is more the capability of, being in one spot and then being able to see in a far sight kind of way, or interact psychoenergetically with other times and places and beings at a distance. And oftentimes a lot of those skills and abilities seem to blend with each other, but not one person could have one ability and none of the other, or some person could have all of them, right? Depends on how gifted or unlocked and activated you are.
Okay, let me give people some advice. Please listen to me. This is you're now listening to an expert trying to help you. Do not observe the sky for orbs until 2 hours or more after sunset. Do not observe for orbs less than 2 hours before sunrise, because mostly what you're seeing, if you're viewing in that window, especially with that camera, are some of the 8,000 Starlink satellites, because they are illuminated by the sun and is reflecting light to the ground. Just wipe that off, because I've watched Standard Guy's stuff, and he has some awesome stuff in there. They're awesome. I mean, he's got some really good stuff, but 90% of it is Starlink. All right. Looks like we got through most of the questions, and we are just about come to the end. So unmute and tell us what thing you want us to tell everybody again.
Well, the website for the conferences is fulldisclosuremovement.org, all one word. And we're going to have live stream recording, but also just in real time of the main stage, the galactic stage there, during the course of the event for everyone who can't make it in person. But of course, if you can join us, not only our event, but our sister event, hosted by Zachary and Sue Fisher, among others. But they're a lot of the main organizers of this free gathering. Day of Being 5.0, that's really great. It's at nearby Indian Shores Beach. And that's also all the details are to be found under more info on our website. Then I'm on Awake Nation and Agent X11 podcasts with Penny L.A. Shepard and David Zublik, formerly of darkoutpost.com, which unfortunately is no more. So they've got their other shows now. And then I'm on Cosmic Row as a co-host contributor with Ida Farhat. She's also my executive producer, for the conference series. and I'm now doing regular, well, not regular, but podcasts with Rocco Fowler to share right now his P. Diddy experiences, right? Like we were speaking of earlier at the show. Yeah. Yep. And so we're looking at launching our own platform. I'm very excited to soft announce that. More details will be coming.
Yeah, keep us in mind. So I was just about to add a bunch of other stuff. If you're already going to do it, we don't mind moving because I'm paying for StreamYard and this other stuff, and it's probably easier to roll in with something that's up and going and already got these threads going, and it's easier for us to add. Just so,
or you might, would it be on our platform? You might. I don't know if you'll still need to keep StreamYard.
No, I don't think you will. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
If we use your platform, we can use your links.
You know what? I'll have to check with them, but maybe that's true. I mean, that's even better. But otherwise, like, you know, because it'll be a paid gig for all of our contributors, then hopefully you'll get to, you know, make the money to cover the StreamYard and then some. But yeah, that's even better. I'll talk to my team because you're right. They probably will have a way to just feed it directly through. But I'm not sure how.
I was about to add Rumble and on, everything you can think of, regular audio podcasts, etc. Because we're getting to the point where we can expand. But if we could join in and do it and amplify each other, it's even better. Okay, so tonight at midnight Eastern, I will be on Spaced Out Radio in the monthly Science Bob Show, and I will be interviewing Alexei Novitsky, who is otherwise known as Lucius Lab. And he is a polymath. He's a big-time helper and participator and distributor of Jim Segala's MUPAS detector, which has a bunch of sensors to tell when you've got something weird over your place. So please come and listen to that if you can. And I look forward to all of you joining us tomorrow night for Lee Ryder. That's going to be tomorrow night. It's at 7 p.m. Okay, great.
Is it Lee Ryder or Ryder Lee?
Ryder Lee. Sorry, Ryder Lee. Pardon me,
Okay.
Ryder Lee. And he's got a bunch of podcasts, which we will tell you about later. But for now, it's been great.
Thank
and
you for coming
we
on.
really want to thank
thank
Brian for coming on again. And we will have him back, I promise you. Because the reason is he may not be the world's greatest expert on any one topic. He may be, or he may not be. But he is well versed in so many different topics. It's a great jumping off point for anything you want to know.
Yeah.
And folks, thank you for being here.
Thank you, everybody. Bye, all.